In this video, I spent 100 days. In that time, I reincarnated as a slime. We have 3 objectives. Is to kill the 3 bosses that's in the mod. The first one, the ruler of the sky and water, Cribdes. The second, the emperor of flames, Ifrit. The third, the ruler of the desert, Orc Disaster. Our second objective is to evolve into our final evolution. And our final objective is to evolve into Demon Lord. In this mod, you will first need to die to get reincarnated. When you get reincarnated, you will have different races that you can choose to be reincarnated as, which has different perks and evolutions. I choose to become a goblin because we spawn with 3 goblin friends. You can also name them, which I name one Glob, which soon later on evolved into a Hobogoblin. I wanted to name the rest of my goblins, but I was out of mana because I myself was a small goblin, a small weak goblin that just recently reincarnated. When we reincarnated, we got a cheat skill called Usuper, which is basically when we hit a mob or attack a mob, we have a chance of stealing their ability, which sounds really sick. With that out of the way, I started to craft all the materials we needed to get started with our adventure. While I was wandering around the desert, I eventually found a village which had these 2 large towers. It was quite strange. When I was entering the village, I spotted a waypoint which I quickly claimed. I also spotted a bunch of hay bale blocks, which I was happy about because we would be able to have a bunch of bread with those hay bale. While I was collecting the hay bale, I spotted a few villager guards, which was quite scary because I thought they were going to attack me, which they didn't. And I also spotted a bounty board, which the quest was really bad, so I continued collecting all the hay bales I could and turning them into bread. I eventually left the desert and decided to name one of my subordinates Flog, because by now my mana regenerated, and eventually Flog evolved into a Hobogoblin. Later on, I finally named my last goblin Yump. When I was fighting a black spider, I accidentally hit one of my subordinates, which automatically made the rest of my subordinates attack him and ended up killing my fellow goblin. While I was fighting for my life to survive, one of my goblins got shot by a goddamn skeleton, which was supposed to be me that was getting shot, but the goblin was accidentally got shot by a goddamn skeleton, which was so annoying. But his bravery shall not be forgotten, because he dropped an iron ingot, which we later on turned into a shield, so now we're basically immune to arrows now. While I was protecting myself from a creeper, unfortunately, my goblin did not have a shield and unfortunately passed away. While I was exploring Southern Barrow Loss, I managed to find a goblin camp, which was really good because we'll be able to recruit new goblins, which I managed to tame 2. While I was exploring the desert again, I managed to find a temple which was hiding underground, which I luckily saw. The loot in the temple was godly. We got 3 diamonds and a mending book, a mending enchantment book, and a silk touch, which is really good because in this game there's crystals, which if you have silk touch, it increases the chance of the crystal dropping. While I was exploring in the night, I found a direwolf camp, which was really awesome because we'll be able to tame direwolf, but I have a slight problem. I didn't have enough mana to tame any of them, which is quite sad. While I was exploring the night, all of a sudden a creeper snuck up behind me without me noticing and killing my 2 subordinates. While I was exploring, sailing my boat in the middle of nowhere, I eventually found these 2 weird pillars, which ended up being a portal to the netherworld. We were not ready to enter the portal yet, because I knew that if we do, I'll be dead. So I continued my adventure on finding a pillager tower. I wanted to find a pillager tower, because with a pillager tower we can make a farm out of it, and we'll gain experience and souls. It has been many days, and I'm starting to give up hope, but we clutched it and eventually found a goddamn pillager tower. I have been wandering around for days and days, and eventually, finally finding one. The pillager tower's terrain wasn't the best. It was literally on a hill, which was really bad because I wanted the terrain to be flat. While I was enjoying our victory finding a pillager tower, I almost died by a goddamn bat, which scared me to death, because right now I so don't want to die and respawn in the middle of nowhere, because I've been trying to find this pillager tower for ages now, and I'll be so pissed if I die. In the middle of the night, I decided to collect a few blocks to make our temporary base, because right now we don't have the right materials to build a pillager farm. I decided that I will fix the terrain first, because the terrain that the pillager was on was really bad, and I wanted this farm to be as efficient as possible. So now I have a goal to just flatten out the terrain. It has been many days, and I eventually managed to flatten most of the terrain. I removed like the mountains that the pillager resided in, and eventually flattening it into a really flat terrain. With that out of the way, I decided to finally start making the farm, which wasn't really that hard. And if you want to make the same farm as I did, I'll have a link in the description below, the tutorial that I followed. With that out of the way, we're almost done with the farm. We're literally like 90% done. I just needed to get rid of the tower and get a few iron, which I did, and I also found a few diamonds while mining as well. But I stumbled across a problem. We were a goblin, and we can't really use iron tools as a goblin, that I just recently found out. So with that discovery, I decided, you know what, let's go straight up and just mark the diamond where they at, and just finish the farm and evolve into Hobgoblin. When I mined, I collected all of the materials that I needed to finally finish the farm, which was iron, because we need a lot of iron blocks to make the golems, which will attract the pillager. When placing all the 4 golems, I am now done with the farm. I also decided to make a new base on top of the farm, so that the farm will spawn pillagers as efficient as possible. So how this farm works, we basically have 4 golems at the bottom that will attract the pillagers, and a water system that will drag the pillagers, which will drag them to the skies and eventually dropping them, leaving them in 1 health. And our job is basically just punching them and gaining their experience and souls, because pillagers are human type creatures, and in this mod, if you kill a human type creatures, you'll gain souls, and soul is really important because it's help us to evolve into a demon lord. So with this form, we basically get infinite souls and experience, and overall it's just really good. We can also slap on like an auto clicker and just leave it overnight, and we'll just gain souls after souls after souls every minute. So knowing that, I went AFK, just slapped on an auto clicker and just went ham. When I AFK'd up to level 40, I now have all of the materials that I need to evolve into a Hobgoblin. When we evolve into Hobgoblin, we can now use iron tools, and we also increased our mana. We didn't gain any new skills or any upgraded skill, which was a bummer. When I looked at my AFK chest, I realized that it gets filled really fast, so I decided to make an automatic trash can. But then I realized that we didn't have enough materials, so I decided to go mining. I also went and mined the diamonds that we found that we couldn't mine because we were a goblin. Now when we are a evolved Hobgoblin, we can now mine the diamonds that we found. When I was done collecting resources, I decided to make a diamond pickaxe and adding the mending and silk clock enchantments on it. I also decided to name it Crystal Pickaxe, because this will be the pickaxe that will mine all of the crystals that we will find. When I was done with that, I decided to craft all the materials I needed to make the automatic trash can. It's a really easy contraption, which you just need a couple of blocks, and I'll have a tutorial if you want to make it in the description below. It's really easy and it just took me a couple of minutes. So now I have an automatic trash can that will remove all the items that goes inside the chest. So now that means that our pillager farm is now fully automatic. That means that we will just gain the souls and experience, and all the items that it drops go straight to the chest, and with our automatic trash can immediately destroying it. When I was done building the trash can, I now had a different goal, is to evolve into an ogre. But to evolve into an ogre, we will need full diamond armor and full diamond tools and 50 levels, which we also need 5 named Seabornens. So with that I went mining and I also found a few crystals. And of course diamonds. I have been mining for a couple of days now, and eventually we had enough to make full diamond armor and diamond tools. I then AFK'd, leaving it overnight, and you guys can't believe how much experience I got. When I woke up from my sleep and checked, I gained over 80 experience, which is really insane. So now I just needed 5 Seabornens, and we will be ready to evolve into an ogre. When I had all of the resources I needed, I was now ready to evolve into an ogre. By being an ogre, we now have 5 extra hearts, and the magical boost effects, which increases our mana. By evolving into an ogre, we can now use diamond tools and diamond armor, but we did not gain any new skill, which is a bummer, but don't worry, because right now we're trying to get as powerful as possible so we can defeat all the bosses in this game as easy as possible. And when you defeat the bosses in this game, you gain skill, and those skills are really overpowered. With all the crystal shards that we mined from trying to find diamonds, I made them into an ingot, which we'll need a lot of to evolve into our next and final stage. By being an ogre, we also gain a bunch of mana, which is insane. When I was done evolving into an ogre, I decided to make a villager breeding farm, because I wanted to enchant my diamond armor and diamond tools into overpowered enchantments. It's a really easy breeding farm, which you guys probably already know how to build, but if you don't, I'll leave a tutorial in the description down below. It's been a couple of days, and I managed to finish the breeding farm, so now I just gotta wait until the villagers breed. While I was waiting, I decided to make a raid farm, so that we'll get infinite amount of the hero effect, and we'll get discounts, and we'll also get a bunch of totem. It's been a couple of days, and just saying, the raid farm is really efficient. Overall, we will get infinite hero effect, and with that we'll get discounts from our villagers, and also we'll get infinite totems. When I was done making the raid farm, I decided let's go mining, because we will need a lot of magic crystals for us to evolve into the final form. This literally took forever. Magic crystals doesn't spawn often, but we eventually managed to mine a few and went back to the base and started melting all of them. When all the magic crystal was done, I started to make ingots out of them. I was then finally able to make full set of magic steel tools. I then AFK'd near the breeding farm so that the villagers will breed more villagers. It's been a couple of Minecraft days and I've just been sitting around AFK'd and transferring a bunch of villagers. I've also changed their jobs so that they'll spawn specific enchantment books, which took a while because they're really stubborn, not wanting to trade the specific enchantments that I want. Then I quickly realized that we didn't have any source to trade emeralds. Without emeralds, we can't get any enchantment books. So I decided to make an easy sugarcane farm, which is automatic, so that when we AFK, we will gain sugarcane, and with those sugarcane we can make paper off and trade them for emeralds. What's awesome about this farm is that it's fully automatic, so that it will harvest sugarcane farm automatically, and we can add layers after layers after layers, and it's really easy to make. While I was mining the crystals, I gained a bunch of materials, so that it was much easier to build all the materials I needed for this sugarcane farm. So with that, I might have gone a bit overboard making too much layers. So now we have a full automatic farm. Basically we have a pillager farm, also a sugarcane farm. So now if we do AFK for souls and experience, we'll gain sugarcane as well. So every minute sugarcane will drop and grow and drop into the chest. So I did as anyone would do, I AFK'd, and here was the results. I have almost filled up the entire double chest with stacks of sugarcane, which I turned into paper, and I got a lot. So with the hero effect that I got from my raid farm, we got discounts, so we'll get more emeralds, which is really OP. I have then started to trade enchantment books for all of the emeralds that we got. I have then traded all of my emeralds for the enchantments that I want. So now comes the fun part, is basically putting all of the enchantments to our swords and armor. So with our diamond armor, we have prot 4 and mending in all of them. I've also enchanted my bow with infinity and flame. I have also decided to enchant my magic steel sword with sharpness 5, but without mending because I ran out. So now onwards comes the fun part. We will now be killing all of the bosses that we stumble across. So that I decided to first defeat the ruler of the sky and water, Charybdis, which did not end it that well, because when I was spawning him, I didn't know that the blast was so powerful that it exploded through my shield. I quickly gathered all of my items before the boss spawned, because if it spawned, I'll be dead without all of my items. While I was crafting a new shield, the boss suddenly spawned, and it was time to fight. I tried to shoot down the boss, but was quickly denied because the boss was immune to arrows. I was then bombarded by his minions, which was really annoying. While I was fighting the boss, all of a suddenly, the villagers turned sides and had no choice but to eliminate them. was a really intense fight. The Megalodon was really annoying, but we eventually managed to get him so low. But the goddamn Megalodon was just really annoying. They just kept goddamn hacking me down. They were really weak, they didn't do a lot of damage, but they're just really in the way. But we eventually managed to get him so low that we defeated our first boss. So when we defeated the Crydas, if I'm saying that right, it eventually dropped the activated Crydas score, which if we right click it, we will learn new abilities. So with that, we learn gravity manipulation and magic sense. So gravity manipulation is basically fly. We can basically be able to fly, which is really OP. The second ability that we got is magic sense, which basically gives us night vision, anti-blind, and anti-nausea. When I was just flying around, I noticed that the boss literally demolished the entire village, like almost nothing was left. After the fight, I decided to trade and get the mending book from one of the villagers because our sword was about to break. I later on AFK'd, farming for experience and souls because our armor and sword was about to break. I AFK'd for a couple of hours and in total we got 60 plus experience. I also wanted to AFK because I wanted experience for us to evolve into our final form. But I forgot something really important, is that we need an analyst skill, which we didn't have. I did some research and I found out that if we become a demon lord, our race stage will go up by 1, which is really good because we're in our second stage, our second final stage. So we just need to become a demon lord to evolve into our final stage, which is one of our goals. With the other way, it is time for us to conquer a labyrinth, which spawns from these really big trees, which was luckily near our village, so we didn't have to travel far to find one. So with that, it was time for us to challenge our first labyrinth. I was really confident about this fight, but then all of a suddenly, the goddamn boss dealt a lot of damage. Because this boss was supposed to be the weakest boss of them all. And I suddenly realized, I think it's the blast or the explosion, because we don't have blast protection on our armor. Nonetheless, by just running away, chugging as much gapple as possible, we eventually lowered his health as low as possible. And with the last blow, eventually killing him. And then a random portal just appeared in the middle of the arena, which brought me to this really weird place, which has a staircase going up to the sky. When I managed to climb up to the very top, there were a platform, and in this platform is where we'll be able to tame our first spirit. So to tame our first spirit, we need to crouch in the middle of the platform and look up and wait for 20 seconds. Which we were chosen by a fire spirit. Which then I proceeded to enter the portal, back to the overworld. Which we were teleported in the middle of nowhere, which wasn't really that bad, because I know the coordinates of where my home is. I then proceeded to test out my new ability that I got from my fire spirit, which is fire manipulation, which we basically cast like a fireball, which deals damage and fire damage. And I then realized by killing the Crydas and the Spirit Protector Colossus, I have gained 100k mana, which is insane. When I was wandering around finding my way back home, I encountered a Badlands biome, which is really good because this is where one of the bosses that we need to kill spawns, which I eventually found. This is basically the Orc Lord. It's not the Orc Disaster, this is the Orc Lord, which we will need to spawn the Orc Disaster. I then went back home and gathered a Waystone because we will need it, because I'm guessing that we will die a lot by fighting the Orc Disaster because it's a really powerful boss. While I was about to fight the Orc Disaster or summon the Orc Disaster, I eventually found the second boss that we needed to fight, which is Sizue, which is an NPC, and if we kill him, we'll spawn the boss that we need to fight. And it is the ruler of the flames, Ifrit or Earfrit, if I'm pronouncing that right. The boss itself wasn't really that strong and was just really easy to defeat, which when we defeated him, we gained the combustion ability. Basically makes it so that we're immune to fire and we have a fire trail. With that out of the way, it was finally time for us to defeat the final boss, the Orc Disaster. I tried to shoot arrows at the guy, but the boss was immune to arrows, which was really bad because I didn't really want to fight the boss head on. Without a choice, I steeled myself and went head on, and immediately I got the rot effect, which is basically an effect that will just hack away your health. Tries after tries after tries, just keep dying and dying. The boss itself doesn't deal a lot of damage, it's just the effect just deals like infinite amount of damage. It just keep hacking away my health. I then found out a solution, was milk. We just gotta drink milk. When we get the effect, we just gotta chug milk, chug apples, and that's how we will defeat the Orc Disaster. So with that, which felt like an eternity, we finally managed to defeat the orc disaster. But then I realized something was wrong. It did not drop anything. We didn't get any achievements. It did not drop the demonic seed. And I was so disappointed. Like, where's my shit? I spent so much. Like, literally so much. Like, literally, I spent all of my gold making gapples. I spent all of my iron making buckets to fill up milk. And the boss didn't drop shit. I was still satisfied because the boss is now out of our list. And with that, I went with the second method, is to gain 100k souls to become the Demon Lord.
Many unbearable hours later.
And with that, we are now a Demon Lord. When we evolve into a Demon Lord, our race also evolved one stage. For us, we evolve into our final form, Kain, or if I'm pronouncing that right. But we also, when being a Demon Lord, we gain an abundance amount of mana. So with that, we completed all of our objective. We evolved into our final evolution. We evolved into a Demon Lord, defeated all of the bosses in the mod, and overall there's still a bunch of stuff in the mod that I haven't explored yet. And if you want to play the mod, it will be in the description below. And if you also want to play the mod pack that I used in the mod, it will also be in the description below. So anyways, hope you guys like it, drop a subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.